But first I wanted to introduce my new partner in crime. This here is Princess Buttercup, Duchess of Belmont, but she goes by Butters because, well, she looks like she should go by Butters. But anyway, she's my new best friend. We hang out all the time. And, yeah, thought everybody might want to say hi. She is half Shar-Pei and half Beagle. Apparently that's a real thing. They call it a Sharp Eagle. Pretty cool sounding name for such a cute little dog. So anyway, first thing I wanted to talk about, I'm going to flip this camera around here if I can remember which button did it. There it goes. Okay, first thing I wanted to talk about is this step is totally optional, but if you do it, you have to do it to all of the following parts, and that is to skive the tops of them all so that you can have rolled edges. You don't have to have rolled edges, but they sure do look a lot nicer when you do. Okay, so we're talking about, if I can get this thing to stand up here, sorry. I'll have a camera person later on, but right now I'm trying to do as much as I can by myself. So anyway, if you have rolled edges, it just really looks nice and finished, okay? So, what we will roll the edges of is the 2 side gussets, okay? And then there's 3 main body pieces. There's the front, middle, and back. So we're gonna do 2 of those. 1, 2, the back piece we will not do. Okay, and then this is the front pocket that we're gonna do some gouging on and stuff. So we'll do it. And then this is the back pocket. We'll do it as well. And all I'm gonna do is I'm going to run them through the skiving machine, and I'm gonna skive off about a 1/2 inch of the top so that I can fold it over and sew it down to have that nice rolled edge. And I'm going to skive it as thin as I can just so that, you know, it really works out well, and it doesn't have a lot of bulk up there where I fold it over. If you're not able to skive them by hand or with a machine or whatever to where the point where that they're pretty thin, then I wouldn't do it. Because honestly, a bulky fold over is worse than just the naked edge, okay? You can always, you know, burnish or edge paint or something the edge and make it just as nice. But I do like rolled edges, and I do happen to have a skiver, of course, so that's why I'm going to do it that way. So I am going to set up my skiver to show you. I've just got a scrap here, and we'll walk over here to the skiver. And I'm just going to set it up to show you how much I'll do on it. Okay, first thing I want to do is set my little depth gauge here for how far into the leather will go on the skive. And then we'll kind of see where the presser foot's at. And that's about right there. It's got it nice and thin. I can fold that over and tape it down and then sew it, and it'll have a nice rolled edge on top, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and stop the video and get all those skived, and when we come back, we'll move on to gouging pieces that need to be gouged. All right, real quick, I did forget to say that the only thing we're skiving on these is just the tops, okay? So like these side gussets, we're just skiving the very top side. That's all we need. We're not skiving all the sides of it, just the tops. So all of these pieces, I just did one of the long ends. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my double-sided tape, and I'm going to fold those over and tape them down right quick. And then I'm going to have to run over to the sewing machine and sew those down. Alrighty, so a second here. Let me see if I can angle this thing to the point that I need it. Alright. So all I'm doing, put a little piece of tape right across the very top of that skive. I'm sure my hand's in the way, and I apologize. Where are my scissors? Okay. Pull that paper off the back of that tape. And then when I pull something like this down to fold it, I usually start kind of in the middle, and I do wide areas at a time so it does it nice and flat, and you don't have bumps and ridges and stuff like that in your fold over. Okay, and then I'll go back over it with my my squeaky toy roller and flatten it down really nice. Okay, so pull all these layers out from under here, turn it over to the finished side. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and do that to all of these pieces, and then I'm going to run over to the sewing machine, and about 1/8 of an inch from the top, I'll just sew a line on everything that I'm folding over. Okay? I'm going to use size 138 sewing machine thread, and I'm going to use a dark brown because I don't have a green that matches this green. So I'll use a brown color that more matches the flap, and I think it'll be just fine. Alright folks, got all that done. Now I am going to talk about this front pocket. It's time to gouge the fold lines to make it to where it kind of accordions, I guess you could say, or pleats would be a better word. Okay, but you got to be careful because depending on the kind of gouge you're using, the width of it and stuff like that, you can't exactly follow the lines on a given pattern. Okay, the goal is once the pleats are folded in, that it's the exact same width as the rest of the bag. Okay, so you have to use a little bit of judgment, maybe even a little bit of math, I'm sorry, to figure that out. All right, so what I'm going to do is I know that these lines might be a little bit far apart, that if I used my nice big wide 1/4 inch wide gouge exactly on the lines, then once I've got it all folded in, this is going to be too short for the rest of the bag. Now, if it were too wide, that's fine. I can trim it a little bit on each side. But if it's too short, then I either have to now shorten all of the rest of the bag or start over with the pocket piece, okay? So I like to err on the side of caution, and I'm going to make this the outer limits of my gouge. So basically, I'm going to gouge on the insides of each of these lines, okay? So show you what that looks like. I'm gonna put the camera down here, pointer down at the all right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm gonna put my paper pattern up here, and I'm going to just make a little ink pen line where each of those lines is. Okay, now I'm going to take one of my big rulers, or I really love these big quilting squares because they really help me line everything up. And I'm going to extend those lines the entire length of the project, making sure that they're nice and straight and squared. Okay, so and I'm just going to do this side right here so that, we can keep the video short. There's no reason for you to see me do this process twice. Now, with the gouge I use, this is a Ron's Ron's Tools gouge. This is a number 2. So what I do is I take it and I'll put this ruler right on that line, okay? And I'll run this gouge right up it. And then again, that makes it to where the edge of the gouge is what's, what's on that line and not the center of the gouge. Okay? So like that. And I do it kind of lightly to begin with, and then if I need to go back and make it heavier, then I do. And that way I don't over gouge it or go all the way through the leather. Now on the other side, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to put the ruler on this side of the line, okay? And I will gouge it again. Okay, and luckily I can use my right or my left hand. I know some people have difficulties with that task, but I was born lucky, I guess, because I don't really have a hard time switching the tool over as long as it's not like my swivel knife. Okay, and I want to get a nice uniform gouge all the way up. Okay, now I'm going to take that, I'm going to fold it in like that, then I'm going to fold it back like that. Okay, and there's what that's going to look like right there. Okay, and I'm going to experiment on this particular bag. I haven't done this before, But I don't like when I open my bag that I already have made, I don't like how this automatically just tries to stick out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sew that line down right there. And then when I fold that other one back, I think it's going to help it to stay nice and flat and tight, but it still has the expansion capability that I'm looking for. Okay, so I'm going to work on cleaning these gouges up, making sure like right here you can see where it's a little bit more narrow than the rest of it. I'll work on cleaning those up, and I need to take it all the way down to the bottom edge there. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on this end of it. And then I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and sew that one line we just talked about. So when I come back, we will work on gouging the gusset pieces. Alright, so I am actually really happy with how I decided to sew those lines in. I think that really worked out, and I'm loving what that's going to do to my finished product. I am right at about the right width. I miscalculated it just a tiny bit. I'm probably 1/8 of an inch off as far as the width of it. But I can easily stretch that out just a little bit and make sure it fits when I go to sew the bottom piece on it. Okay, so not a huge deal at all. Still on track, and that's great. So now we're going to talk about gouging the gussets. Okay, so we've got our 2 side gussets. Okay, 1 and 2, and then we have our 1 big bottom gusset. All right, and I went ahead and I cut out my paper pattern so I can show you how we're going to do that. But it's real simple. If you look at the finished bag, if you notice, the gouges don't go all the way to the ends, because on the finished bag, you see where that sews in and it clamps that center piece there. Well, when it gets to the down in the corner where it needs to sew together, it releases so that it can make a nice sharp corner, and that also is going to help your bag stand up and stuff like that. So I'm going to mark where these are going to go on my sorry, I'm losing my train of thought as I go here. I'm going to mark where these are going to go on my my side pieces. Okay, I need to turn this one around apparently. And I'm just going to gouge out the area in between those two, because what it's going to do is fold around one of the center, or fold around the center piece of leather here. Okay, and that fold will be a lot easier if it's gouged. Now, if your leather is thinner than this, then you really don't even need to gouge these. You can just fold it over it and sew it down. The one of these that I'm in the middle of making, I'll show it to you. It's purple and black, but I'm in the middle of making one of these, and it's going to be hand sewn, or it is all hand sewn so far. I did not gouge this because this leather is considerably thinner. This is probably 2.5, 3 ounces of leather. So I didn't bother gouging it. I just wrapped it around it and got it on there. So there you go. So I'm just going to mark those lines. I'm going to gouge them down, just the where it's marked, only to there. And I'll gouge out the space between, and that way it'll create a nice soft area that I can wrap around that center piece. All right, folks, it's been a crazy day. Still the same day, but if you notice, I'm wearing different clothes. My wife called me and was like, my bloodhound Lucy was for some reason hiding under a house and wouldn't come out, and well, I was kind of concerned about that, because dogs, you know, if they're injured or something, they go and hide to die. And so I was very concerned, but anyway, went there, crawled under the house with her, and found out that no, she found a kitten and she was protecting the kitten. So had to take a shower because I was covered in insulation and that itches. And I want to finish this video tonight. So the shop is now closed. It's the evening time. I want to get this done. All right, so I'm going to flip the camera around. Here we are. So I did all of my gouging. Okay, so I got 2 side gussets and a bottom gusset. And again, I only gouged ends, you know, the lines that were in the pattern. I didn't gouge any longer than that because on the corners and stuff, it's not wrapped around tightly. Now, I have two pieces that I had ended up, you know, folding over the tops and sewing. And I have to decide which of those two pieces I would like to be the middle section of my bag, okay? Something that'll hardly be seen at all, but still, if I had a piece that maybe had, you know, some marks in it or something undesirable in it, that's what I would use as my middle section of my bag, okay? Both of these pieces, honestly, are about the same, except I got a little crazy with my sewing right here. I wasn't using an edge guide, and I was just kind of eyeballing it, and I was talking to other people, and I was drinking coffee, and anyway, this stitch line's not as straight as I like them to be, and so this was going to be my middle piece, all right? So, what am I going to do now, you say? Well, I'm going to take, let me get my little tripod out here, set that sucker up. I'm going to take, and we're going to wrap. Well, nope, first, I'm sorry. I need to cut the corners, the bottom corners off of this piece, okay? Because I need it to have room for the gusset to go all the way down and then the side gusset and the top gusset, or the bottom gusset, to sew together down here, okay? So you can either round them, you can just cut a little triangle out of them, but I need to make that corner to where it's not square, okay? So, real easy, there's a can of pipe tobacco. Okay. And again, this is why I don't include this on the pattern, is because, again, this way I can choose which one I want to do this with. Okay. So I'm going to round that sucker off. I'm going to do the same thing on the other bottom side here. There we go. There we go. It doesn't have to be pretty and perfect because it'll never, ever, ever be seen way down in the bottom of that bag. Okay? So, now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and wrap these side gussets along here. Okay, and I'm going to take my little clips. I'm going to use my clips. I have some that are kind of leather lined. That way they stay pretty and they don't scratch up my leather. Okay, and I just make sure that up here at the top that they're even with the top of this this fold over, you know. And since we did the same skive fold over on all the pieces, then it should all match up. But then also you want to see, look right here and here, those are not even, so I need to rotate it just a little bit and press it back on there nice, and because I want those to be even. Okay, and then when you get all the way to the bottom, you need to make sure they're still even, and that'll keep you from having a twist in your bag. Okay, and I don't like to glue this on because it can honestly get real messy. I would rather just use a couple of clips and then be real careful as I sew. Just like that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go along and I'm not going to try to sew way out on the edge of that sucker. Okay, I'm not going to try to get all, you know, 1/8 of an inch or less. I'm going to go like 3/16 of an inch in and sew down that line right there. Okay, and that will, and I'm only going to do it for the skived area, so you need to kind of pre-designate where you're going to stop, or not the skived, I'm sorry, the gouged area. So one good thing I could do is put maybe a clip beneath where I'm going to stop sewing there. Okay, but I'm just going to start sewing right there at the very top and work my way down to, you know, the bottom of the gouged area. That's it. That's where that's going to be sewn on. So again, we're doing this to the middle gusset first. I'm going to do one side, then I'm going to do the other side, and when those are both done, I'll do the bottom. Okay, the bottom, same. We're just going to wrap it on there, and you got to make sure right to left that it's centered and you're gonna just sew it on, and that's that. Okay, so that's what we're getting done in today's video. And when we resume tomorrow, we'll start actually building the bag and putting the sides on it and stuff like that. So, there it goes. So, until tomorrow, I'm Aaron Heiser of Maker's Leather Supply, and hope you're enjoying this build so far. It makes an awesome bag, I promise. And we'll probably get it finished tomorrow if we have a light day at the shop. I don't know how many people are coming in, but I also have to work the shop, so we'll see how that goes. Have a great night.